I'm all done with the interview.
Chase?
Matter.
Okay, you've met Phil
Yes.
and Faye, or you've met Faye, right?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. As you may know, I guess it was in some of the papers, as you probably are aware, we are doing 3 interviews, 2 tonight, and one of the candidates is coming in on Monday because they were tied up tonight. So, and now whether there would be a follow-up interview or something like that, we would have to decide that.
Okay.
And we'll have to go from there and see how it goes. We're gonna try to keep the questions pretty much the same from candidate to candidate, and try to have it as open as possible. Just to let you know, this is a public meeting. It is televised, as all of our meetings are. I just wanted to let you know that. The final interviews are being done that way. And in addition, so you know, all of our upper management employees and staff have been through that same process in an open meeting. And I'm sure you are aware, this is not our regular night for a meeting. It is Monday night, I guess, as it is with most towns.
Yep.
And
Very used to that.
yes, I guess that's pretty standard, Monday, Tuesday. So, I guess how we could start is,
Shall I sort of take it over from here?
excuse me?
Shall I take it over from here, or do you wanna?
Yeah, however you want it, yeah, yeah, that's fine, I'm sorry.
Okay, Andrew, welcome.
Thank you very much.
We have about half hour, we have 11 questions, and I'll read each question twice and give you a chance to respond directly to the select board.
Okay.
And then I'll move on to the next one, all right?
All right.
First question is, why are you interested in working for the town of Barry? Again, why are you interested in working for the town of Barry?
So if you're interested in working for the town of Barry, because I think I can be a great asset to your community. I'm a very motivated individual. I'm looking to help facilitate change, and I'm looking to bring communication to the table. I know that in my years as executive assistant in the town of Palmer, that is the one thing that I've stressed more than anything is building a teamwork and communication. And I think that by coming to Barry and helping you guys and forming great communication and great staff here, I mean, you guys already have a great staff. It's about, really forming that bond of, making it a team and not just a staff of individuals. But that's the one thing that I would love to bring to Barry. I think that it's a tremendous opportunity, and I just think that this this community is right for somebody with my type of leadership abilities.
All right, the second question. How does your background correlate with the requirements of the position? Again, is this once fine?
Well,
or-
once is fine,
Okay,
yeah.
go ahead.
Yeah, so as the executive assistant in the town of Palmer, basically I run the day-to-day operations of the town with the oversight of the town manager. And I have a lot of leniency in that position, and that basically anything that comes through the door, I kind of handle on a day-to-day basis. Everything from human resources issues to, I have a pothole in the road, or, I just have a small problem. I'm a very hands-on person when it comes to that stuff, and I really that's really what I strive most in, is finding opportunities to be hands-on and do that stuff on a day-to-day basis. Sorry, I'm kind of going into word vomit here.
It's okay.
But yeah, I think that at least as far as my experience, through establishing communications and using my resources on a day-to-day basis, really, is something that would work well in this town as far as that, from that position. I don't know if you want to reiterate the question, because I kind of.
Okay, how does your background correlate with the requirements of the position?
Yeah, so a big part of my position is, HR related, where people have, or where it's like workers' comp issues, stuff like that. I'll handle a lot of that from a day-to-day aspect, as far as, when something comes up, kind of making sure that that comes in from beginning to end. I know it's not the exact, same thing as far as in the town administrator form, where you have the Board of Selectmen as the executive branch, where our office in Palmer is, kind of functions as both executive and administrative, but it would be more of a focus on the administrative side, coming to bear, at least with what my current position entitles.
Can I follow up any questions or this? Or
Yeah.
Yeah, that's fine.
Um,
Board members or whoever
Okay.
at the table.
What I'm looking for more related to more requirements of this job. We are looking for, procurement, we're looking for someone
Right.
familiar with grants, we're looking for someone, obviously, the personnel issue you've covered very well, but do you have any other, things in your background that will help you with that, towards grants, towards procurements, and I'm also
Yes.
concerned about state requirements and regulations. That's something that's come up recently for
A
us.
very big thing that I handle is procurement stuff. I draft contracts, I draft, RFPs, RFQs. I'm pretty much the point of the go-to contact for that. I've finished the first class of the MCPPO program, and will be already planning on taking the other two this fall. So that should be taken care of. I've been doing that my entire time in the office. As far as grants, I've obtained 2 separate grants, small type grants. One was to help us meet a requirement for the upcoming MS4 permit, which should, it was to cover half of the mapping costs of our entire sewer system infrastructure. Another one was an in-kind grant through the Mass DEP to help us investigate going to townwide trash collection. We had some some technical assistance from them from the grant. Overall, after investigating it, it was seen that going to a townwide trash collection wasn't going to be a feasible solution, but I was able to obtain that grant through Mass DEP.
So, this is just more of a, because I don't know, where do you go to look for grants? How do you see what's out there for a grant?
So a lot of times, it'll be either like, one of the ones that I got was through our insurance company. They offered a grant program. We put it through that. One of the new avenues for grants would be through the Community Compact Initiative, and a lot of those focus on either regionalization or IT investments. And I think that's one thing that the state's really focusing on, or 2 of the things that the states are really focusing on are increasing local towns' IT infrastructures, and also facilitate regionalization. And I know that your community has recently opened a community, or a regional dispatch program, and I'm not sure whether or not that program was involved in it, but it may have been without looking too much further into it at this point. But those are really where the grant's out there, and it's about kind of looking out for opportunities. They are out there, and there are a lot of different avenues.
So, thank you.
Okay.
All right, the next question. How do you see the role of the select board in relationship to the town administrator's role?
So the select board is basically gonna be the ones giving me my marching orders. You guys are the ones that are coming to the tables telling me exactly what you guys wanna see done. It's my job to make sure that happens. And that's by working with the people that I would work with on a day-to-day basis, and also making sure that you guys are as educated as possible, so that you guys are making good decisions when you guys come to the table. So that's really what my job as town administrator working for you would be.
Okay.
All right, next question. What are your strengths and weaknesses?
So, as I said, my biggest strength is communication, basically trying to build a team and making sure that that communication goes from top to bottom. My biggest weakness would be handling something that or at least trying to address something that I don't have all the information on. I address things best when I have all the information and I'm able to bring that to the table. So I think if we're in a situation where I wasn't feeling like I was giving you the proper information, I would ask, to table a conversation until I could get all that information to the table. So those are kind of the two big things on either end that are my biggest strengths and weaknesses.
Next question. Where do you see yourself professionally 5 years from now?
5 years from now, I see myself in a very strong leadership position. I would hopefully it would still be here, and it would be, operating a great team here in Barry, and with the full support of the select board.
Our next question. What experience do you have in supervision, grant writing, and budget preparation?
So with budget preparation, each year I with the town manager, we basically are the finance committee of the town along with the finance director. My job is to basically approach each individual department and ask them, what are your needs? What do you need in next year's budget? And normally in a normal municipal budget cycle, not much changes. But there's there's going to be a few changes or requests here and there, to try to bring that or to try to improve the way that we serve our residents. I will take all those requests, funnel them into a budget. We then meet with the assessor's office and the accounting office. We determine what our local receipts are going to be, how much we can bring in for our tax levy, what our debt exclusion amounts are going to be, and how much we can expect to receive from the state revenues. And we put together the best possible budget that we can using all that information. Normally we create a final budget document that's broken down into a summary budget, line item, detail, and then on top of that, we also have a capital improvements budget that we develop with a in-house capital improvements committee that becomes part of the stabilization fund. In total, it's around $36 million budget that we put together each year, and we're very close to passing our FY18 budget. Hopefully within the next 2 weeks, we'll have that done on our side. But as far as budget preparation, that goes from top to bottom. And as far as grant writing, I had already kind of touched on that, or grants, what grants I've been involved in. Sorry, what was the last?
Supervision?
And as far as supervision goes, from a day-to-day aspect, it's not much that I handle, although I am more of a resource than a supervisor. I am more of the person, from my current day-to-day role, I'm somebody that goes to help facilitate things to get done, and not necessarily the person that's looking over their shoulder, making sure that they do it. So that's my background in that.
Have you ever had to discipline or fire someone? If so, how did you go about it?
The one disciplinary issue that I've had to handle directly happened about 3 years ago. I was appointed as acting town manager while the town manager was out of town. Our DPW director at the time received a very public DUI, and going directly through legal counsel, he advised that the best course of action at that time was to put him on immediate administrative leave. It was my charge to put together a letter, hand deliver that to him, and then basically follow through from that point until the town manager came back. But he was put on I directly put him on a 1 week administrative leave until the town manager got back to town and then administered basically a separation agreement from there. So that was the one disciplinary hearing, or the one disciplinary issue that I've been involved in directly. Other than that, only as backup.
Barry Town government has been in transition during the past year. What would you like to accomplish in the first 90 days on the job?
The first 90 days on the job. Well, the first thing that I would want to do is figure out what you guys want to see. I could come in here with all the ideas in the world of how I'd love to see things run, but the truth of the matter is that you guys are the ones that, you know, that put me in the position to make things happen. I would be more interested to see what you guys think you'd like to see get done in the first 90 days, and that's what I would focus on. It wouldn't be my intent to come in here and just start clearing house just because I'm the new sheriff in town. I'd like some direction from you guys to adequately answer that question.
Tell us about one or two accomplishments, either work or personal, that you were most proud of.
Well, right now I'm very proud that I was just recently appointed lieutenant of the Bonneville Fire Department. So that's something I'm very proud of. From my career, from my work aspects, I'm very proud of our revitalization efforts in one of our villages of Three Rivers and Palmer. We were recently awarded a grant through Mass Development to establish a walking path in one of our parks to help bring some more because we have our downtown Three Rivers area in Palmer is it's seen better times. We've been working very hard with a very dedicated group of individuals to help bring that community back. We're hoping that with this grant, we're going to be able to establish a walking path and try to get people back at our downtown and reestablish some business there. Very proud to work with this group of individuals, and they have me as part of their advertising to help generate funds for this project. So that's something that I'm very proud of and looking forward to, not only because it's my hometown and I get to see that come to fruition, hopefully, and really establish that downtown back, but also from a professional standpoint of feeling like I was part of that.
Tell us about a difficult or challenging situation you had at work and how you handled it.
Right now, probably one of the most difficult situations we're dealing with right now is the fact that we're completely renovating our town hall while working in it at the same time. So while you're trying to focus on your day-to-day operations, you basically have a general contractor coming in at the same time saying, I'm looking for guidance on this, I'm looking for guidance on this. It's very difficult when you're in the middle of it to kind of say, all right, this is, I need to dedicate myself to one thing or another. But as very good at just, kind of compartmentalizing and saying, all right, we need to handle this at this time. Come find me in an hour. I have to focus on on what I'm focused on now, and then we'll handle that project. Hopefully, we're going to be able to finish it on time and under budget, but it's been very challenging working under those conditions where it's like you're managing the project that you're in the middle of, but also trying to accomplish your day-to-day goals. But it's been about 6 months we're into it now, and so far we're still headed in the right direction.
Are you playing kind of a point on the management of that effort? Or what is your role, would you say?
So my role is basically if you need an answer from our office as far as the biggest thing has been coordinating when we have to move rooms in order to do certain things. So my job has been to kind of, all right, I have to coordinate the DPW to come in here to move this room. I also have to coordinate all the IT infrastructure, because the IT portion of this project was not something that was under the scope of the contractor. So I serve as kind of the de facto IT individual of the town hall. So I've been coordinating with our IT individuals, the contractor and the DPW to make sure that we're able to move people out, establish a new IT system, and then move everybody back in as seamlessly as possible.
Okay, so you kind of are directing the owner's side of the
Right.
contract and
Right.
how to facilitate with the contractor.
Right. I'm kind of the point day-to-day person. If it's something that's more, that goes beyond me, then the town manager himself has also been involved in. But it being a two-man office, it's been, if I can answer it, I'll answer it. If it's something that needs formal approval, we'll both be involved in.
Okay, thank you.
The last question from the list is, what can you offer us that the other finalists cannot?
The biggest thing that I can offer is my passion and dedication. I know that this is a 24/7 job. I know that it's something that requires my full commitment and attention to, and a full commitment to this town. And I am somebody that on the first day will hit the ground running with whatever, what your guys' vision is, to try to make this the best community as possible. Pretty much I will be as resourceful as possible to make this, a great town that functions well, and that we use pretty much all of our resources at hand to make sure that it happens out there.
I have a comment on that one. First of all, congratulations on making lieutenant.
Thank
And
you.
on that note, what sort of obligations do you have to that department? Is that a call department? Do you have
Fully
hours you're
volunteer.
supposed to be staffed? Or
Volunteer.
what are your commitments and obligations that we can expect to lose in
That's Saturday mornings.
Saturday mornings.
Every other week. That is training day. That is my only commitment to that. And when I'm here, this is all, this is my number one commitment. I'm not gonna be running out the door, going to put out fires a half an hour away. So.
It may be necessary sometimes. Fair enough. Thank you.
Okay. Matt, did you have any other questions?
Just thinking it through here. What role have you played before in any type of actual facilities management? Understanding buildings, HVAC, anything like that?
So
Just curious.
Right, so in our town hall, basically when I started 7 years ago, it all fell on the building inspector, where if something went wrong, he was the first guy. Being new and trying to learn everything I can, I kind of learned everything that I could from him. When he decided to retire 5 years ago, everything in that department fell on my shoulders. And in that span, we've replaced our full HVAC system. Being the youngest person there, all the IT systems kind of said, it went from, hey, you're the guy that knows how to run this computer, to, hey, you're the guy that knows the entire IT infrastructure. So that's all, basically the HVAC. 2 years ago, we replaced we went from a Centrix phone system to an IP-based phone system. That was all spearheaded by myself. As far, making sure that facility stuff, that's really something that I've come accustomed to. But I know that it does take a long time to kind of gain that institutional knowledge of how everything runs.
The other thing, following up a little bit with that is, and the only reason I bring this up is our town administrator historically has had a big role in looking at like with the capital plan and things like
Yes.
that,
Mhm.
they play a big role. Even though we have a capital committee and things like that, you're pretty integral
Right.
in that process.
Yeah.
And so, one of the things we usually are asking of the town administrator is exploring energy efficient projects,
Mhm.
energy grants,
Mhm.
which a lot of times are facility-based, and understanding how that really works.
Right.
As well as some of the things we've been, I think even recently, and I don't know if we're closing it or would be passing on to make a decision shortly after coming in, would be some things with, are we still talking about like the net metering thing or potential municipal aggregation?
Yeah.
These are bigger picture items that we had made some progress, and then at this transition, we've kind of gone into a big pause.
Okay.
I
So
mean,
has the
not
town-
everything's dropped, I don't mean it that way,
Right.
but
So has the town actually entered any net metering
Yes.
credit agreements? Okay.
Yeah.
But
So-
probably not the full.
I think it might have even been with, no, it wasn't with the Palmer site. Okay.
Well, the
I
town
know
of
they had a
Palmer
big
is the
one, right?
largest generating community in all of Massachusetts,
I
so.
think we're just waiting for the project to come online.
Okay.
We haven't seen any savings on our electricity at this point.
We're currently in that same well, I would say the same situation, we're just beyond that situation where we're online, but we're still trying to figure out what the actual savings is. We've only really seen 3 months of bills, and the bills have been kind of scattered all over the place where, you know, each individual department has kind of gotten their bills here and there, but we haven't actually run the numbers to see what our savings are. Early on, it doesn't seem that it's as high as kind of what was originally promised, but we'll see how it works out. I think a lot of it might have depended originally on, you know, when they were selling this, you know, this share, it was, hey, energy's at 15 cents a kilowatt hour. Well, now it's down at 8 cents a kilowatt hour. So your savings isn't as high as it might have been
Right.
maybe 2 years ago.
Gotcha, okay. So you're familiar at
I
least
am,
with
yes.
what that is, and, okay.
Yes.
I have no more questions.
Okay, I just have a couple, I guess. Just to let you know, I'm sure you're aware that you're pretty well the budget director and the
Mhm.
personnel administrator and
Yes, sir.
whatever else we can think of between now and when you
Yeah.
start.
Other duties as assigned.
What?
Other duties as assigned.
Yeah, it's that between now and then, I guess, maybe.
Yes.
We were discussing that the other night. But I think we'll be reasonable. I have two other questions. One, as you know, we're part of a regional school district,
Yes.
Blacktown Regional. We're the largest town in the school district. And it can be quite problematic working a budget. And
Because you're working that budget around the school system.
that's right, and it's all student-based, so you can go up, even the budget could go down, and your assessment could go up.
Yes, sir. Very
Uh,
familiar with that. We have Pathfinder,
You're
in
right.
Pownell, we have Pathfinder in our, and we are the largest contributor to that as well, so. Along with the fact that we're funding our municipal school system on top of that. So in essence, it's about the same ratio of our budget as it is to this community.
Okay. And the other issue, and this is probably the most critical issue facing the town, and not just Barry, but all over, our population's going down.
So-
And it's going down fairly quickly. It's compounding our problems at the schools. Everybody has all these requirements. It's making it very difficult to budget.
Yes, sir.
And how would you suggest that we deal with that problem, trying to maintain services that we need, and yet, spreading the costs out over is, we're putting it on more, the
Right.
same costs
Yeah, the same
on
cost.
less people.
Right. I mean, the biggest thing is to kind of, I would say, is to try to look to see how you can maybe, bring some additional commerce in to try to loosen that load on the residents. Where, I'm not sure if it, just trying to draw businesses to town to try to
Mhm.
bring up your commercial development, because commercial development does not put children into your school systems, but they contribute to your tax base. So it's something that the town, should try to focus on, trying to figure out how to foster new businesses to come to town to try to improve our tax levies.
Okay, and one of the aspects of our job, Phil's job, Dave, and the administration in the town is, just so you know, is to work with the other 4 towns in our school district. And when we meet with schools, we have to take into account their situations, and likewise, it doesn't work perfectly, as you
Right.
can imagine, but it does
Right.
work.
I mean, it's always a difficult, relationship between town and school, because there's always very different goals in mind. And that's the biggest thing, is that, the goal of the school district is really to get as much money as they can to focus on their students. The goal of the town is to keep as much money as they can to provide the best services in every other category. So, I understand the dilemma in trying to deal with them, but, it's, like I say, it's a very similar situation
Yeah.
in pretty much every other town.
It's a very, if you were to come on, it's a very difficult problem because, they're down K to 12 between the 5 towns, somewhere between 12 and 1,500 students,
Right.
which is a lot of
Yeah.
students, so.
And we've, in our community, we've lost 30% of our student population over
Mhm.
the
I
last
thought
10
you did.
over the last 10 years, and we've made the difficult decision of having to close our middle school this year. We're combining all of our students between middle school and high school, and that's,
Okay.
and now one of the challenges that we're looking forward to in our community is that the middle school building is now going to be a municipal building. It's a 90,000 square foot building, and we need to decide what we want to do with that, because when the schools close, they can say that they're going to hold on to that building as long as they can, but the day that they decide to lock the door and throw us the keys, it's going to be our issue.
Mhm.
So,
Okay.
it's loss of student populations. I
Okay.
understand it's a problem that we have to look at and really need to address.
Okay. Faye, did you have any?
I do not.
Okay, did you have any questions for us?
Let's see. What do you guys think is going to make the best successful administrator in this position? What is it that you guys want to see from the town administrator? Pretty much.
You want me to answer? You want me to answer?
It's a good question.
Yeah, it's really good. Do you want me to try and answer that?
Go right
Okay. First of all, somebody that can, vis-a-vis this board, act as a liaison between the board and the town, carry out certain things are pretty standard. Most of the stuff is very, very routine, but then between the board and the town in a very diplomatic manner that, can, even though some decisions are very tough, that we manage to make people work together, not just our employees, but with the citizenry,
Right.
and, to keep the tension in that respect, and I guess that's a
Right.
political
Well,
problem.
if the citizens are happy, you guys stay in office, so it's a very
Well, not just,
important-
I don't think any of, that's true, but I
Well,
don't think,
that's why it's important. I mean,
yeah.
that's why you need somebody who's really gonna be out
Yeah,
there
and
on
I
the ground
don't-
and representing you guys as well as possible.
Yeah, I don't think that's the main reason, but I
Right.
think that we want the town to run smoothly. That's
Yeah.
very important to us. None of us are here forever, I don't think. At least I don't think so anyway, but,
Even beyond this, you guys wanna see the
Yeah,
community
yeah, I mean,
You
that-
guys all wanna be proud of this town. You guys wanna.
one, I
wanna
think
have
our,
leadership.
and our citizens want to be proud of the town.
Yes.
And I think that, is something to foster. Certainly to foster very good relations between your office, your position, the people at the table here, ourselves, and our town employees. That is very, very critical. That's all of our employees. And even though we have to make some tough decisions with budgets or whatever, policies, we want everybody to feel good and be proud to work for the town of Barry.
Yes.
And I think that that's one of the things. And then, obviously, the budgeting aspect of it is very important. I think it's been a very, very busy season. With Phil coming on, we kind of threw him to the wolves in January, and
So, other than the schools, what's been kind of the biggest budget challenge?
the biggest budget challenge is dealing with a tax base that's not expanding, a population base that's declining, and just trying to maintain the services.
Because you guys are.
I would
professional,
guess,
you're going
wouldn't
to
you?
a 2.5,
Yeah, and I've had ideas too, which I'm trying to
Yeah,
wait
I
until
think-
after this annual budget. And I'm really hoping to find some, obviously, a lot of things we touched on. Leadership is very important. The ability to maintain personnel, but not like, cracking whip over them, but work with them. I liked hearing those words. I
Mhm.
think it's, and I said it before, I had this conversation with Faye when I started. I want to make people feel comfortable that we're not out to get people, we're out to fix issues. If there's something we don't like, it's not because we want to cut someone loose, it's because we want to, do things in a different way, or give someone help if they need it. If their job isn't getting done how we want it done, we don't want to can someone, we want to
Right.
get them, doing the
Give
job
them-
right.
Give them the tools that they need to be
And
successful.
I think that a clear understanding of what's expected from personnel is very important up front to do that. And I'm also looking for an administrator to aid in some of the ambitions that I have in the future, which I briefly talked about, such as for revenues, I'm wondering if it's possible to look at a 1% sales tax in town. I know I've seen a meals tax places. I need someone to be able to look into things like that. We have some major companies in town that do a large number of dollars in sales, which would tax outside our community. But I don't know if that's a reasonable thing, that it can be done. But there's things like that I want to be able to look into, and I think I'm looking for
Pretty much
someone
establishing new revenue
this-
sources.
Yeah, that's why I'm asking about rules and regs of the states before and stuff. That's
Mhm.
how to do these things and how to write bylaws for it and make them legal is very challenging. I've talked to some state senators, and I've talked to local senator and a rep about it, and they've all kind of had a puzzled look and said, you might be able to do that, but they don't even know, because it's
Right.
not
Yeah.
something typically attempted by a
It's
small
it's something
town.
that you really want to kind of check with your Division of Local
The
Services to
Meals,
make sure that.
meals tax, piece of cake, you can have a meals tax.
Yeah.
But
exactly.
that's a small piece of the business we do have in town.
And I know
A lot
that,
of
some,
out-of-town revenue
I know that
comes in.
some towns have looked into local option gas taxes to try to fund infrastructure programs. I know that Lennox had looked at it at one point, but I'm not sure if that had ever been approved by the Division of Local Services. I know at least saying that.
That's the type of thing I look away from, because that's gonna tax our citizenry.
Right.
And so,
Right.
and that's why I thought about, we have a Leader Home Center, we have an energy, Higgins Energy, and also some of the fuel places sell all over the place, but a lot of the business comes from out of town. And,
Right.
the percentage I'm talking about is low as far as a dollar number, but it would add up over time. It's just one thought I've had. It may be it's something that can go absolutely nowhere, but I'm looking for someone.
But at least,
that's
but you're
willing
looking
to
for an
put-
answer to see if
I'm
it is
looking for someone
possible.
that can live, because
Right.
when we meet, albeit 20 hours a week lately, we usually don't meet that much, we don't have that much time to look into these things, and since, we're occupied full-time otherwise, we don't have the ability to look into that, so I'm really looking for someone that can research these ideas for us.
Right.
And I think these are things you touched upon in the beginning, about seeing what the board needs and communicating back with us. So I was
That's the
happy.
thing, so I'd like to find out what those goals, what the goals that you're,
And
it
my
might not be
ideas
that
don't
the 1%
necessarily mean the
sales
board's
tax.
goals, I think they're
Right.
kind of going, what are you talking about? 'Cause
Yeah.
I've been saving this till after budget time to talk
Sorry.
about it, so.
I got just one last thing, and it's not really much of a discussion, just more of a statement of my observation of the town and where we're kind of at right now. And one of the things that I believe is really happening, Phil might even be able to expound upon it because he was on the planning board prior, is the town's really starting to look at kind of creating a town plan. They're working towards that end goal. I think we're trying to get some help with CMRPC for a chief planner. So these are little
Right.
steps, little
Right.
steps. We're not even at that end point. But it's something I've been also trying to introduce with little just statements here and here. Let's look at this, let's look at that. I think that will help us not only get the town to see the general picture of, like you said, if we're gonna bring in new commerce, where? Things like that, and what do we need to do to support that? And that usually ends up helping you get a grant because it says, I got a plan. So that's something I would put on somebody that's looking to come in here and stick around Well,
Mhm.
that's something in 5 years, if you get the job, I want you to tell me,
Yeah, where are we?
like, here's the plan in a
Yeah.
way, not, it doesn't these plans evolve.
Right.
They're gonna grow, and it's gonna require the town to accept it. It's not like something we just make and say, here you go. So it's a challenge. But I just wanted to put it out there that I see that as something that's really gonna help us if we can start to bring that picture back.
Right.
So people know what's coming and what to expect, and they know they have a voice.
I love the fact too that you guys invested right in your downtown, created that new central hub. Everybody knows where the center of town is because it's absolutely gorgeous out there.
Yeah.
And I know that anybody would love to come to this town and invest in it. It's all about just trying to drive those people in and giving them, a vision of what we want to see and hopefully, kind of establish what they want to
Okay.
see.
Okay, well, I think we're all set, but let me
Awesome.
just give you a couple of reasons why you'd like to work here,
All right.
or why you'd like to be
Pushing on time.
employed.
Pushing on time.
Yeah, I know. But then we'll make sure we have appropriate. But we're very proud of our community. This board, our citizens, they take a lot of pride. When you come here, you see things that are done like our Memorial Day and the type of things, they're first rate. And it reflects the pride. Yeah, we got problems, but so does everybody else. But we're very proud of what we built. The people that, it's not the most transient of places in the world, is coming from Palmer. I think we share some things with a few villages that,
Right. Oh, definitely.
which is, can be good and it can be difficult at the
Right.
same time. And by the way, this is called Uptown. So anyway, but, we have a lot to be proud of. We have some beautiful things in town, trails and stuff that people have worked on through the watersheds. We have a lot of open space, and we have some very dynamic people, and we have cultural things going on and stuff. And despite all the things going back and forth, I think we're very, if you talk to most people in Barry, they would say we have a very fine educational system. So there's a lot of reasons, and we've got our problems, but Barry generally, having worked in the regional stuff for a long time, it's kind of, our finances are about as good as anybody else's, if anything, a little better, but, it's been kind of the model over the years, and I think this board over the years has been very well respected in the region, and yeah, we've had some problems, but I think everything is moving, and
I'd be lucky if I was your representative here in the administrator's office, and thank you
Okay.
very much for having me.
okay, thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Gold.
Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good night.
Thanks for coming again, Henry.
Thanks, Andrew. Nice to see you again.
Great to see you.
You too.
Okay. I guess we got another one coming right along.
Yeah.
Do you want to spend a little time just talking among yourselves, or do you want?
I don't wanna make him wait.
Do you wanna save it
personally.
till
What?
the end?
I don't wanna make him wait personally.
Okay, that's
Do you need
fine.
to do it now? No?
What?
Did you need to do any discussion in between candidates?
I'm comfortable, just go to the next.
Okay.
Yeah, and then it'll be all fresh anyway, I think.
Yeah.
Because
Okay.
with the third one being another day anyway, I feel like we'll just get through this, make our notes, and then rehash on Monday or whenever we're doing
I do
that.
like to tell them why they should come here. Well, we got a nice town, we really do.
We do, and I think even when we have our disagreements on things, we're a passionate board, and I like the fact that, obviously, we all care about what happens here. And
Yes.
That's what I think.
Matt on our side?
Hello,
I'm at Greg O'Sullivan.
Charlie Chase.
Matter, good to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
Okay,
Hi.
let me just give you some background on what we're doing, and then we'll turn things over to Phil for the time being. As you probably are aware, we're down to 3 finalists, of which you are one, and we're going through the interview process. Commencing tonight, we have 2 on for tonight, 1 on for next Monday. One of the candidates was booked in, couldn't make it tonight, so we're interviewing her on Monday. The questions that we're asking are pretty much the same for each candidate. Some of them are verbatim the same. And, you know, we can have some discussion as we go along if we want. But Phil is going to handle some of the questions. And as you probably are aware, Phil is our acting administrator. So I'll turn it over to you.
All right, well, welcome, thanks for coming again.
Yeah, you're welcome. Pardon me, do you mind if I take some notes while we talk?
Do whatever, yes, that's fine.
We have 11 questions on the list here.
Oh, by the way, this is being recorded.
Yes, I forgot to tell you.
In video,
This is
so
an open public
if
meeting.
you want, it's on
It
Facebook
is.
probably at some point later today or tomorrow.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I neglected to mention
Oh,
that
that's
to you,
fine.
that this is an open meeting. It is, as you can see.
I've watched the Barry Community TV.
So you're familiar with the source.
I am.
Find it entertaining?
It's actually pretty informative.
Yes, they're actually pretty good. It
And you
gets,
came back, that's a good sign.
there's some are better than others. Okay.
So we have about a half hour or so, but, you know, I can go longer, I guess. First question, why you're interested in working for the town of Barry?
Well, I'm, as you may recall from my cover letter, I've just finished caring for my mom and dad. They passed away, and that's okay, but I'm getting back into the workforce now. As my wife and I talked about what kind of challenge we wanted to go after, it was, we thought about getting back into the commercial world. I had some experience in the oil and gas industry, but the price of oil is too low right now, no exploration going on. Then we thought about something I'm very interested in, is local government. I went to grad school for that. You know, at this stage of my professional life, you know, I don't need to be CEO of some large organization. I want to be somewhere where I can use my background and experience to make a difference. And I also looked at, if you want to make a difference in government, local government's the place to do that. You know, because you look around, you know, where does government touch you the most? You know, the library, you know, the police department, the highway department, the town clerk. That's where you come in contact with government the most. So if you want to make a difference, why can't you be part of an organization that does that well? So why Barry in particular? I was looking for, you know, not a town that wasn't too big. You know, I didn't want some big sprawling metropolis. I'm interested in, you know, this area of Massachusetts. It's rural, but it's not too far from really anything. There's lots to do around here, but the size of the challenge is certainly manageable, at least when I look at my own background and experience, and so that's why I picked Barry.
How does your background correlate with the requirements of the position?
How does my background correlate with the requirements of the position?
Yes.
Okay. I've served in some pretty senior and responsible positions, and that, despite the Barry being, 5,300 residents or so, that's still a pretty sizable group of folks, and it's a very responsible position. And I've done that successfully. The other thing I would say is, if you look back at some of the things I've done in particular, when I was chief of staff for the Navy group in Singapore, a lot of the things I did there was very, very similar to what a town administrator does. We had our own police force, we had facilities and housing we had to maintain, we had a schools program we had to sort out, we had a medical facility staffed with some local nationals and a U.S. doctor. We had a lot of recreation facilities for not just our people, but for visiting U.S. Navy ships, and a pretty extensive group of folks there. We had a chapel, legal team, and some unique things, some fuel storage areas and pipelines and that sort of stuff that we had to maintain. So we had all those things that provide services to the group that lived in Singapore. And you know, if you think of that as kind of a small town, you know, that's how I correlate my background and experience and how it can translate into being a town administrator.
How do you see the role of the select board in relation to the town administrator's role?
The select board, I view the select board kind of like in the commercial world. The select board is like the board of directors, town administrator is like the CEO. CEO manages the day-to-day activities of the town. The select board provides the policy, guidance, and sometimes specific direction as to how they want him to go about doing that.
What are your strengths and weaknesses?
I think my greatest strength is the ability to look at an organization and see what challenges it's facing, and then translate those challenges into a plan of action, and articulate that plan of action to the folks on the team, so that they understand where we're going and how their individual and group contributions can help us get there.
Do you have any weaknesses?
So you could ask my
Everyone's
wife.
favorite question.
You know, I'll tell you, I'm not gonna answer that one, and I'll tell you why, because that's it's a question that, like, I'm really gonna tell you my weakness, and
Okay.
two, it's, I think I'd rather talk about things that I've done earlier in my career that, for example, that I had to get better at, and public speaking is one of them. When I first started out in my professional life, I was just terrified to get in front of a group of people and talk. So what I did is I knew that as you moved along in your professional life, you had to get comfortable doing that, at least to the point where you could communicate effectively to people. So what I did was I sought out opportunities to speak to people, and the Navy was really good about that. They have this thing called the Speakers Bureau where, you know, things like the Rotary Club, we're always looking for somebody to come and talk to them about what the Navy's doing. So you can get up in front of that group and talk, and over time I got a little bit better at speaking. I don't think I'm ever gonna be, at the top flight of public speakers, but certainly I can get my point across and feel comfortable doing it.
Where do you see yourself professionally 5 years from now?
Hopefully still challenged, and using my background and experience to keep the town of Barry moving ahead.
What experience do you have in supervision, grant writing, and budget preparation?
Okay, supervision, I've got extensive experience with that from quite an early age, being in charge of small groups of 14, 15 people, then larger groups of, say, about 100, then 300, and then finally, my last position in the Navy, we had an organization with 3,000 total people, but about 150 staff in Singapore with 12 direct reports. Then later as CEO, I had 8 direct reports in the firm I ran there. So I've had a lot of experience supervising people and getting them to work together to achieve the goals of the organization. And pardon me, sir, can you?
Okay.
It was a 3-part question. I think
The last one was grant writing and budget preparation.
Okay. Grant writing, if you look through my resume, you see I've had no job that required me to write grants specifically. However, one of the things you do in the Navy require you to ask for money from disparate organizations. And to do that, you have to do things that are very, very similar to writing a grant. You have to, articulate your requirements, say how much it's gonna cost, what you're gonna use it for, what the schedule is, how you're gonna account for the money, what's the return on investment. And you also have to understand when you're writing these proposals, one, what organizations fund these things, and then two, what the calendar is for writing to get that money, because it's different for each thing. And that's what I'd say is very similar to grant writing. And budget preparation, I've got a pretty in-depth background on that. In the commercial world, as a CEO of the firm, I was the the guy responsible for the firm's budget. We had $50 million in annual revenue that we had to manage. But more specifically to this position here, when I reported to my position in Singapore, we had basically a corpus of money that was used, just spent. There was no budget. There's difference between a corpus of funds and then an actual budget that you use as a tool to shape your operations and articulate policy and all those things. So what we did is, I got folks together, we looked basically, well, what are the requirements? And then we worked down from there. We prioritized requirements, looked at things that were part of like a phased replacement program, which could include furniture, IT items, that sort of thing. And then also looked at our capital improvement program. We didn't call it that, but it was like that because we operated 45 ships that required extensive regular maintenance. So in order to do that, you'd have to schedule a time for them to be repaired and understand what level of repairs were going to be conducted. And then you had to figure out who's going to pay for it. And like a capital improvement program, there's different sources of funding for all those things. So that pretty much sums up my budget experience.
Have you ever had to discipline or fire someone? How did you go about it?
Yes. Terminating someone is not a pleasant thing to do, and it's something that I think everybody ought to take very, very seriously. Whatever that person did to deserve to be terminated, they didn't start out in the job that way. They came in at some point, with a lot of hope, bright eyes, looking to the future, and that job is, that position is, regardless of what they're going to tell you, is some part of that. So when you make a decision to terminate someone, it's not, unless it's something like theft, okay, that's an easy one. But if it's a performance issue that takes place over time, I think you owe that person an opportunity to improve. So you sit down, you talk with them, give them specific goals to meet, and help mentor them to meet those goals. But if they end up not meeting those goals, when you finally have to terminate someone, you do it in private, and then at least I do, I try to give them an opportunity to leave with as much of their dignity intact as possible. Did that completely answer the question? Okay.
Berrytown government has been in transition during the past year. What would you like to accomplish in the first 90 days on the job?
Okay, the first, when I report to someplace new, as I look at, not like the first 90 days, but it's the first bit and then the longer bit. And sometimes it may take a little shorter than 90 days, a little longer. That first thing that I want to do is, establish internal relationships with everybody in the town, not just people that report directly to the town administrator, but the fire, the police department, all those folks, because they're an important part of making this town a success, and you have to have a good relationship with those folks. The other group that I look to establish relationships with are the external stakeholders, some of the state agencies that we might work with. I don't think this would be external, but the school department, superintendent of schools, I'd want to have a good working relationship with her.
It is somewhat outside,
Yeah.
because it's a district here, so
Right.
it is kind of their own entity.
But it's important to establish those relationships early on. The other thing that I'd want to do is take a look at our budget and financials. I don't think that there's anything wrong, but it's important for me as the new guy to get up to speed on, where is the money coming from, where's it going, how do we categorize expenses and revenues, how does it all work, and why do we do things the way we do it, so I can understand how to be effective. Then the third thing that I do is a bit of a homework assignment. You have to get your nose into the policies that the select board has, town policies, and then Massachusetts municipal regulations that apply to the town. So that's basically for the first
Mhm.
bit.
Tell us about one or two accomplishments, either work or personal, that you are most proud of.
Okay, okay, two, one from the commercial world and one from my time in the Navy. As a CEO of a firm that I was working for, we had a lot of debt. We had $80 million in debt when I got to the firm. And what I did was work out a plan to keep the firm moving forward while dealing with that debt. That entailed a lot of relationship building, a lot of meeting with shareholders, and just a lot of effort to get that going. I also had to work with the state-owned oil company in India, who we were going to do a contract with. They were getting antsy that we were in this financial difficulty and weren't going to show up, so I had to convince them that we were going to show up, and we did. But that took a lot of effort, and I'm glad we ultimately got to India and were able to get the ship there. So my takeaway from that was the importance, reaffirming the importance of building relationships with folks, because that's really what made that whole thing come together. It wasn't any brilliant plan that I had. It was the fact that I talked to people, was honest and forthright, and they had confidence in my ability to execute. The other one was with the U.S. Navy, and this is one of the things that I always, throughout my time in the Navy, didn't understand is why, just because you're in government service, or the Navy in particular, why do you just view the budget, your money, as something to be spent, and to be spent in its entirety by September 30th, the end of the fiscal year? So when we had some opportunities to look at how we did business in Singapore and save some money, and in this particular instance, it's a pretty sizable amount of money. What we did is we changed the process of how people or ships ordered fuel. Previously, what you would do if you were on a ship, say you're on a destroyer, you needed fuel, your supply officer would send a message to the oil tanker that we ran that was in the vicinity, and you meet up with it and you get fuel, and that was it. If you needed some food, parts, sometimes an oil tanker or a store ship would have it. But what would happen is, sailors being sailors, they always ordered too much fuel, particularly when they went in port, and you'd have to pay for the total amount ordered, not just the amount they took. So there'd be, the thing that put me over the edge was one ship that we had a $250,000 demurrage fee for. That's $250,000 tax dollars for nothing. So we decided that we could do a better job if, instead of a model where individual ships went to an individual oiler to order their fuel, or to a supplier in port, they would order it through my group in Singapore. And what that did is we knew where the oilers were, which had the most fuel. We also knew which other ships, all of our ships carried fuel, which ships had things like food and things like that that they could get. We also knew what the fuel in port was, where it could be got for the best price. And believe it or not, we knew more than the ship how much fuel they really needed, because we monitor every day. We know how much they're going to burn. So what we did is we put that in place with a small test pilot project, posted some success with that, and then translated it to the entire 7th Fleet. And over the first year, we achieved $25 million in cost avoidance out of a $450 $46 million fuel budget. So, you know, we're pretty proud about that.
Tell us about a difficult or challenging situation you had at work and how you handled it.
Okay, probably the most difficult time in my professional life was I was in Singapore. My boss got fired, and so I was put in temporary charge of the logistics group we had. And, okay, and no problem. I essentially had run the thing for 7 years prior to. Week after I was put in this temporary commanding role, Japan was hit by a tsunami. And you think that's all the way up in Japan, we're down in Singapore. My group's the ones that provide all the logistics support for US Navy ships when they do humanitarian assistance and disaster relief missions. To include, and not just refueling the ships at sea, but all the stuff, bottled water, blankets, you know, food that goes ashore to people that are stranded, all that stuff. And compounding that problem was the Fukushima power plant, the nuclear one, was emitting radiation and was impacting the Yokosuka Naval Base lightly in the form of fallout. So we couldn't use that as our staging area. We had to develop a new one. We had one of our ships get contaminated with this fallout, and we had to figure out how to operate it. At the same time, I had to adjudicate a very serious sexual harassment complaint against a naval officer who I ultimately ended up terminating because of that. I had to figure out what I was going to do after being notified that we had a number of our teenage dependents in Singapore caught smoking marijuana, which is a very serious crime there. Not so much here, but there it's pretty serious. Ultimately, we had to inform the Singapore authorities who the person selling the drugs was a local national. But I elected not to do that until I had told the parents to have their children leave the country. I felt like the sheriff in high noon, because I saw him on Wednesday afternoon and said by Friday morning, the kid's got to be out of the country. Because we couldn't risk them being caught up in the legal ramifications of that act. It was 18 months, and the risk may have appeared small, but Singapore was going to national elections at the time, and one of the big issues was the disparate treatment of expatriates under the law. So that would have been an ideal thing for some prosecutor to hang his hook on. And we also, for the strategic interest of the United States, we couldn't have the next news story to come out, Singapore Navy has children caught up in this thing. And then the last one I had, one of my sailors who was coming back from somewhere, I think it was from vacation back in the States, walked through the airport in Singapore and they found she had a high temperature. They have temperature sensors there to see if anybody has avian flu. Well, she had it. So, you know, oh my gosh, this poor young woman is then taken away by the Singapore authorities, put in quarantine. No one could get to her, talk to her. We had to work through how, you know, was she getting the right medical care, and she was. The folks in Singapore were absolutely fantastic, and she made a full recovery. But until that happened, there was a pretty intense information draw or demand to do that. So all those things were going on, and the thing that I took away from that was the importance of making sure that prior to bad things happening, that you have developed the folks on routine, that they know that you trust their judgment and ability, and they know that you, the leader, understand what their capabilities are. So that, you know, all these different things were going on. You know, we had the logistics thing with the maintenance component, with the legal thing, the medical, all these different things. But the folks that ran those particular areas were able to move forward with confidence that I trusted them, And then they would come back to me and say, hey, here's what's going on, and I could provide a higher level direction and guidance that they needed, instead of having to get down into the weeds and do that particular job. So that was the most challenging part for me, and that lasted about 2.5 months.
The last question on the list is, what can you offer us that the other finalists cannot?
Well, I think all three finalists, that no one got here because they lack the management and organizational ability to do this job. Otherwise, we wouldn't be interviewing the three of us. But I think what I bring that others may not is the ability to pull people together and get them to work as a team toward a common goal. And not in a driving sort of way, because you can't, if you want to go somewhere, you can't do it, pushing people to get there. You have to want to go. And the way you do that is a little bit collaborative, make sure people have an input, so when you're setting these goals and you're charting the way ahead, everybody has a buy-in, everybody feels that their voice has been heard. You may not do what they want, but they know that, hey, I had my input, it was duly considered, this is what we're doing, and then move forward from there.
All the questions on the list I have.
Okay, board members, question, Matt?
Yeah. And this is just kind of not so much about the specifics of your skill sets,
Mm-hmm.
but more the logistics of your location.
Mm-hmm.
And if I'm correct, are you still living in Portsmouth?
Yes.
Okay. Which doesn't necessarily, it's not necessarily a bad thing in any way. I'm just curious. What I mean by that is when some things we've had, like an issue where we rent out some of our municipal buildings.
Mm-hmm.
Town administrator on some of these buildings is the primary point of contact if there's an issue with the facility.
Mm-hmm.
Then we also have certain Monday nights, our meetings can go to 10 o'clock, 10:30. So I'm just bringing out some of these experiences I've had since I've been on the board for less than a year. So I'm just curious how you see that working with your life schedule and your distance where your house is versus where your job is.
I'm not going to be making a 2-hour commute every day to come down to Barry. We'd relocate down to either in Barry itself or something close. And that, for a couple of reasons. One, having a long commute is not fun for anybody that's had to do that. But if you're in a position like town administrator, it's a little bit more than just coming to work, 9 to 5 and doing that. There's so many other things that you can have a positive impact on the community if you're there. A local fair that you're able to go to and just be part of as someone that goes. Maybe you speak at a local civic organization, a Rotary or something like that, where you give an update on, hey, here's what's going on with the town, and get to meet those folks who, by the fact that they're in the Rotary Club, they are predisposed to do good things for the town. So, show them areas that they might be able to contribute. So, I'm not going to be up in Portsmouth. We're going to be down in this area. Where exactly that'll, my wife will ultimately determine where we live. But, and that's fine.
Yeah, well, that's honesty.
No, I appreciate it. I was just curious because we didn't ask for it, nor did I necessarily expect anybody to relocate for this job. But in a way, in my mind, I also didn't expect someone from Portsmouth to apply. So so when I saw that, I just wanted to know what your thoughts were on it, and so that definitely would ease my mind, because
Sure.
sometimes that can be a challenge that you just can't overcome.
Yeah, it wouldn't work if I stayed in Portsmouth. It just wouldn't. I'd stop 4 hours in the car every day with no traffic.
Yeah.
Right,
so.
that's a big if.
And we're hitting summertime, so there's traffic every day.
Yeah.
Okay, well, thank you. That's the only
Okay.
question I
Now,
have.
do you have questions for us?
A few, actually, and some of them have been answered during the course of our discussion, so thanks for that. Is the town administrator also the chief procurement officer?
Yes, and I was gonna mention
Okay.
that, yes, and we don't have a formal position as budget director. Uh, The town administrator would be a personnel administrator and as well. You know, it's a smaller town, you're dealing,
Mhm.
you know, largely volunteer government.
Right,
And as I've said on many occasions, just this afternoon, I consider Barry part of that infamous nocturnal empire that's out there with things done at night, like this. And so I did want to point that out to you.
was looking at that, there's a certification that I think either I'm required to have, or I'm pretty sure it's required, but I just want to assure
Yeah.
you that I'm perfectly willing to go after.
Yeah, we understand that. We
Get that
just
done
hired,
quickly.
our police chief
Okay.
came up here from Connecticut and he had to go through similar type things. We understood that. We understand that. Yeah, that,
The other thing, I was looking at the capital improvement plan, and it was actually pretty detailed. I thought it was pretty good. And so last year was the first year that you had the CIP,
yes.
and that was, I saw that the town voted to fund that, and this is the second year. So does that get voted on in the next couple of weeks when you?
Well, what we've had
propose
to
the
do,
budget?
and a couple of questions, and I guess it can kind of, I don't know if it needs to be a question from me, but kind of leading into things. We are like a lot of towns in this part of the state and west. We have been having trouble with maintaining our tax base. Our population has been going down, and I think it's actually lower than probably 5,100 at this point. And it's not unique.
Sure.
I mean, it's going on in small towns all the way across the country. And so in that respect, it's fairly typical. So we, at this point, have put on hold until we know exactly what our state reimbursements are going to be and that sort of thing. And we're planning to visit the second year of that capital plan, probably in the fall.
In the fall.
Yeah, until we know exactly what it is, what we've got. So that's what the plan is, but the plan is to stay as close to that as we possibly can. And likewise, probably after we get through all our budget stuff, it may not be until the early fall, but we need to put a fifth year on with that plan. You know, we're taking a year
Right.
off, and so at some point, we gotta be thinking about putting a year, 4 years out by, you know, to a fifth year. So that's something that we will do. The plan, we used a group at the UMass Boston to help us develop the plan. They just got done with some work with our schools. But one of the problems we're having is coming up with the funding. We're in fairly good shape financially, but we're trying very, very hard to keep that. So, but you're pretty well the front person. You have some very, very good people working with you, not only on this board, but some of the we have a finance committee, and there are other committees that are, you know, like all places. And they're basically volunteer government, but they do a remarkable job for what is expected, you know, for what they do. It's a good job. So, yeah, we're going to try and stay on that, and the plan may have to change, and you know, you may have to move something smaller on a third year up to a second and back, and you know, something that's more of a priority probably than as much as that. So,
Okay. And the last question I had is kind of a variation on one that you asked earlier, but what are the first 6 months or so that the new town administrator's in the job, what are the things that you're looking for that person to tackle?
okay, what I mean? I think first, you know, first and foremost is to get you acclimated to the community.
Mhm.
and, that sort of thing, and get a feel for what we're doing. You'd be coming on at fairly quiet time of the year. Municipal government goes, the town meetings are done in summer, so, and get acclimated with all of our employees, not just management. We have, I think, over the years, the selectmen and some of our managers and committees, some work for a committee, some, whatever. I think that you'll find that they put together a very, very fine team of employees, very dedicated people, and I think one of the things is that they're very proud that they work for this town. And, to get that feel and to continue that feeling. And we've had some problems in the past years, I'm sure you've seen by now, particularly on the board and the transitioning, but there is one continuity, and that is the boards have always tried, I think, to do what they thought was best for the town, and but that is something that you'll find at our, continued morale and things of that nature for our staff and all our employees, and I think you're going to find we have a very good team of employees, all, whatever department, and so we have a lot of volunteer type call fire department and that sort of thing, as you may know. So that would be one thing, and then we're going to have to do some upgrades on personnel policy and that type of thing. It's nothing really wrong with it, but it needs, time has moved on and different things have changed. So it's been a pretty hectic year for the town with some of the issues that we faced, but I think it's moving forward. So one of the other things that, and I know this is in New Hampshire, we're all in regional school districts, and this is something that is very, very difficult to deal with the enrollments dropping, and this is probably, in the end, our big problem, and the tax base isn't expanding fast enough, and, I never thought I'd see us in position with schools that were half full. And, the school district, from some of the meetings we've been to, is down anywhere from, and this is for 5 towns, K to 12 to 1,500 students. In a school district this size, that's a lot of students. And that goes with the population, but one of the things that I think we would look to the administrator and in the budget is that we have to coordinate the budget with the school. And it's a regional school with assessments and based upon student enrollment, so that type of thing. I think you'd have time to get acclimated because you're going to be on in a fairly quiet time of the year. The budget should be done, I hope, and that sort of thing. So, and our fiscal year ends on June 30th, so we're just about done. We have to go to town meeting to get everything approved.
Okay. Thank you. Yeah, that's all the questions I had. Everything
Okay.
else was answered, of course. by
Okay,
earlier
let me give
discussion.
you, as I did with some of the others, a couple of reasons why you might like to be involved with our town. And I'll start, I'm very proud you're a lefty. Secondly, when you mention local government, I guess Tip O'Neill said it best, all politics is local. But, I think you're going to find that if you travel around Barry, our citizens are very proud of our town, and everything is done very, very well. We have our problems and issues just like every other town, but you're going to see that, like we have Memorial Day. It's a first-rate exercise. We have different things going on, and people generally are proud to live in the town of Barry, and I think they see their town and expect their town to be kind of a leader in the area. And I think one other thing is that, the public in this town has spent an awful lot of money in support. They're proud of their schools. I realize we're not directly responsible for that, but I think that is pretty safe to say. And our 5 towns have spent a lot of money on our schools, and they haven't really spared very much. But, so, with that said, we're proud, and I think we want to make sure that people are proud of their town government. So, and I think for the most part, yeah, we have our day-to-day scraps like everybody else, but I think most of our people, in the end, come together and work for the betterment of our community, which is all you can ask.
That
Okay.
sounds great.
You have any,
Good.
Matt?
I just got one thing, and it's more because I had previously said it to the last candidate,
Mhm.
is we have with the various boards, planning board is one key critical part of the town's plan, is trying to work towards creating a comprehensive town plan that incorporates the sewer department, the water department, the roads, the infrastructure, the zoning, the kind of this is the town plan, this is where we expect to develop future commercial, or this is where we expect to do that. And we have some of that in places I think, I'm not saying that information isn't there in a lot of places, I think some of it needs to be updated.
Mhm.
And I think some of it needs to come together and be made into a plan, like a complete plan, that would benefit the town when it comes to either pursuing grants, things like that. You kind of mentioned in your pursuit of funds, sometimes you have to write out here's the challenge, here's the process, here's the budget, here's the timeline. Well, a town plan kind of has that, so as you build that, it is something you can fall back on. The state likes to give grants to people that have a plan. And I think that's something that we're working towards. I think the planning board has been working towards some of these steps. I don't know how far they're into it or how far they're going, but we've been using our local CMRPC, which is Central Massachusetts Regional Planning Commission.
Mhm.
They've assisted us with some, what was it, a grant for a chief planner or a town planner to assist us with some things?
We got a shared planner for a while.
Okay. Well, so some of that is something where also, again, as a town administrator, you are kind of like the hub of the wheel. So even though the planning board wouldn't answer to you because they're an elected board, it's like you said, relationships, working together and bringing these
Sure.
different parts. The DPW commission is a similar thing where they're kind of, well, we're actually part of the DPW commission. It takes the select board, the sewer commission, and the water commission, and makes a 9-member commission that. So all these parts would kind of play a role, and that's where I'm just putting it out to you that that's something that I see the town has been making steps towards.
Mhm.
So the new town administrator would be playing a role in continuing that
Okay.
and working with the town, and a lot of it would be identifying what we think we want to do and making sure the town has the voice to participate in that. So it's not kind of here, we're going to do this to your neighborhood, and then the minute you do that, you realize they just say, no, you're not,
Right.
because you didn't bring them into the picture.
Sure.
And that, I think, will also help us with some of the questions like with the budget and stuff. As we start to work it, it helps us bring in commerce. It helps us, the little pieces all start to answer themselves as you can kind of fill in the blanks. And so I just wanted to present that as one of the things I think we would be looking for you to keep in your mind as you're doing things, is it's eventually got to come back to something. You know,
I understand.
rarely do you have a path running off on its own that doesn't need to pay attention to what else something else is doing. And that's more kind of what I mean. And usually when you have a town plan or something similar to that, that keeps everybody trying to work towards that same goal.
Mhm.
And that's one of the things I just wanted to present, as I have mentioned to other candidates.
Thank you.
Okay, Bill, did you have any? Great. No? Pat, you're all set?
I'm good.
Dave?
No, I'm all
Nothing?
set. Thank you.
Okay. Okay, so, we will be back to you. We don't have a definite timeline, but, we're hoping to bring this to a head as fairly expeditiously, so,
Okay.
as time goes on. So, we would like to thank you for your interest in our town. We appreciate that very much. And, right now, I guess you've got the basic gist of what the responsibilities are, and just ask our new police chief, we stuck a few extras on between when we did the final interview and when he started, but, you know, so we're very good at delegating things to people who don't work here. So I guess that might be a nice way of saying, kind of a humorous way, but it won't be that bad. But we thank you for your interest in our community.
Well, thank you for having me down. I've enjoyed the meeting the folks here in Barry. Not just the first interview, but where I was able to meet, you know, police, fire, the
Yep.
folks over at the library, the senior center. That was a great way to get a feel for the town, and
Okay.
I enjoyed that. So thanks for
We
that.
definitely hold a small town feel still.
Yeah.
It's
If you
nice.
like wildlife, we have everything, you know, from bald eagles to
Bobcats.
bobcats, yes. Our new police chief put himself on the map with that, that's for sure.
One thing that's definitely nice about a small town is that sense of community.
Yes.
The people do care about the town passionately, and the people on the board do, and that work here do as well. And it's not as disconnected as, perhaps that's why you're looking for a smaller town, not something larger like Worcester or a city type setup. It's definitely more involved, so if that's something you're looking for, I think you'd like it here for that. It's real, you're gonna see your results, and you're gonna hear from people. Good or bad, you will hear from people.
But I think you'll like the public overall, it's a very involved community.
Right.
So, and I'm very proud to serve, and I think my colleagues and Phil and Faye.
People won't leave you wondering, you won't be wondering what they're thinking, they'll let you know.
Yeah, you won't, that's true, but I think you're probably used to that, I have a feeling. But I think, you know, so, okay, we thank you for coming in.
Well, thank you for having me, and look forward to hearing from you next.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much. Good to meet you.
Okay, nice to
Thanks,
see
Matt.
you.
Nice to see you again.
Appreciate your time, Matthew.
Thank you.
There's a lot to come.
Step out for a minute.
Thanks for being here. Nice to see you.
50's rough enough, I know that one.
Oh, we're actually doing okay with the estimate of 45 minutes each. We're only 3 minutes over.
Wow.
For us, that is amazing. Come on, you gotta give me that.
Considering we were
That's,
supposed to do 30 with the 15 debate after, when we didn't.
well, I just counted 45. I
But we
didn't,
kept it to
I mixed it
45.
all in and it's like,
It's in there. Oh, goodness. Let's
Just want
hope
to let
there's
you
no
guys
fire
know, I'm
calls
gonna be
tonight.
posting your meeting for Wednesday night with finance at 6 o'clock
Okay.
before the public hearing.
oh, yes.
And I also needed to know, we can wait for Charlie to come back too, I guess, if you wanted an executive session for Monday, for the following the conclusion of your interviews.
I don't know if we want to do it that quick, or if we would, I would, personally, I'd like to see some time, and maybe set a separate date for it, not put it on with our meeting.
And that's why I'm asking.
Yeah, this is my personal thoughts.
I just wondered if it might be more fresh in your mind.
No, I'm not, I don't think any of our minds are failing that much, but I'd like a chance to process the 3 candidates and look at my ratings and you know, ratings are just ratings, the impressions upon each person.
No, this was just a guide, the reading.
Yeah, no, there's a lot to contemplate, and I'd rather have certainly a meeting with a separate day for it. We don't have anything else on the agenda. I'd like to give this the full attention it's due, so we can discuss it properly and have some time to process before that. I don't want to kind of bulk it in with a regular meeting night of any kind. I would like this to sit as its own. So that's my thought.
Thank you, thank you.
Whether or not you guys agree, we'll see, but.
We were just discussing, I had asked if you guys wanted to schedule a executive session for Monday night following the conclusion of your interviews. Greg just stated he would like it maybe pushed off a little bit, have some time to digest it and have it at its own date.
Oh, okay.
I don't want to fit it in with our other meetings and feel like we're trying to squeeze this in. I want this, and I want everyone that
Raise
that
some
sees us
DPW
do this.
commission right after it, so.
Yeah.
This is a serious position, and I want us to come mindfully into it.
Right.
And I want everyone to understand and see that. And I think setting a separate date for us to deliberate this means this is the only thing on our plate that day, and we're gonna give it its proper deliberation
Right.
and conversation. And, you know, who knows? We may all go in there with one thought in mind and come out with something different in mind. When we start to
Right.
talk about how we perceive different things and how we rated things. And I think, I say this all the time at work, 3 heads, 2 heads, whatever, better than one.
Mhm.
You don't look at all the angles, you know, each candidate can strike each of us a particular way as we rate them and score them. But when you discuss aspects of their answers and their, you know,
Mhm.
their things to fit the town and their past experiences, obviously both these candidates have great past experiences and strong, you know,
Yeah,
strong backgrounds
Yeah.
that fit the town in different, very different ways, the both of them, I think.
yeah,
And
that
that's
was
kind
my
of things,
feeling too.
we really need to spend some time to get into that. And I
Yeah.
don't want to say any more than that till we hit the third one and get into all of them and weigh those things. And
Yeah, I think if we
I
were-
think a couple, a day or two to process it ourselves and think about it.
Yeah.
And then come in and discuss it. That's-
Right. Yeah, I tend to agree. I think we could do the interview Monday, and then we've got the other meeting, I guess, at 7. And it could force a rush on the issue.
Yeah.
And we don't know, after talking to him, speaking with him, you know, you can ask him to come back if you want to. You have that option as well. So, you know, there's a whole range of options, so.
But certainly some time to deliberate it. I don't know.
Yeah, there's
I don't
no
want to
need-
put it off a week or anything silly
No,
like that.
no,
But
but-
I'd like to see its own day.
Yeah, you want to get this wrapped up, but at the same time, you don't want to try to go so rushed that you don't do
No,
a good
well-
job.
We'll have finance again that following Wednesday, correct?
Yep.
Yep.
Perhaps either Tuesday before finance, or better yet, might be Thursday. It depends how much time we want to spend. I don't think we'll need much more time. I would be prepared
Yeah,
Tuesday night if
I
we
think-
wanted to talk about it Tuesday night.
Yep.
I'm personally, Tuesday would be difficult because I'm actually gonna be working a long day Tuesday to make up for the time I need on Wednesday, because it's
And actually, I'm saying
police
Tuesday,
union
and the rest of
negotiation.
Tuesdays I can't do.
And then the public hearing in the evening, and then the pre-public hearing meeting that she just talked about scheduling for us.
So perhaps
So
Thursday.
I'm gonna have to work with my job to kind of take Wednesday off, which means I'm gonna have to put extra time in on Tuesday or Thursday to help
We could,
fill in where I'm just not there.
just offering, 21st, which is Wednesday after, town meeting, would be a little more calm.
It's stretching
I'm
it out
just-
quite a bit, though.
Yeah.
That would really pushing it off.
Yeah, timeline wouldn't allow it to work anyway. I was wondering if we'd even be able to get to a point where we could decide and have an estimated. We haven't discussed, and I'm not saying that this is the time or the place to discuss what we're actually looking to pay this person.
Right.
But we are talking about what we want to put into the budget for that. And so what it does is it puts us in an odd spot where we're gonna go before the town with a certain number for that budget item, but then we still gotta sit and negotiate the contract with somebody. And we did that with the police chief, and he had to sit with the potential for 6 months retroactive pay that still needed to be approved by the town, because we ended up working towards an agreement that was higher than was originally budgeted. I'm not quite sure how that, I don't think we can change any of that, other than,
It could go the same way that you did with the police. We have a budget for that position, and if for some reason you go into negotiations post, town meeting, can guarantee that's what's going to happen, because we're only a week and a half away from town
Yeah.
meeting.
Mm.
So what you'll do is just come up with a salary, and we would have to fund it.
deal with it in the
At the
fall
special.
special town meeting. So I'm just putting it out there that it
Actually,
was
we
something in
have
the
it-
back of my mind of,
Probably happen at annual, but.
maybe you look at the budget, you look at the budget number, you see if that fits what you think we're gonna be paying for someone we think is qualified for this job. And then if we think that's good or not, then we still have kind of a last minute thought before this public hearing to say, maybe we gotta look at this
Even-
number and go up or
Even
down.
after public hearing, numbers still change,
Yeah,
right
you can
until
change
town
it,
meeting.
yeah, numbers.
Yeah, but I
There are
mean, if we have the
times-
ability to
There are
do it at the
times-
public hearing, we will.
There are times that you'll go into town meeting and the moderator will announce the changes to the booklet.
Mm-hmm.
And
Right, I
and we've
remember
been very
that last
conscious
year, I
of
think.
printing the booklet that day, but still things come up.
Exactly,
Mhm.
so,
Or
Okay.
you find errors or,
so, and again, for me, a lot of what I'm saying is because I haven't walked this complete cycle yet, so I'm just putting it out there, depending on
Okay,
how it does
so
affect that cycle.
Would you guys think maybe after Monday's, your final candidates interview, we can look at some dates then? How does that sound? If you wanted Tuesday at this point, we
No,
would have to
Tu-
post
I-
it now, so that's
But
how.
I couldn't anyways, as
Yeah.
I said, I keep forgetting I'm occupied on
So-
Tuesday nights.
so
I
at-
can't do Tuesdays.
At Monday's meeting, you could
Thursday
look
would
towards, you could post Thursday on Monday, so
Right.
why don't we look at that
And
at
so
that
we-
time?
Yeah.
So we can wait and see if.
I'm fine with
Thursday-
making
see
a
if
decision
Thursday
on when to
fits as we get
reconvene.
closer to it.
So Monday, we'll make the decision on when to reconvene. Give us the
Okay.
time to better
See,
know our own
I'm
schedules.
hoping for Thursday, if you guys can see if that fits. If it doesn't fit, we'll figure this out here.
I think so, right
I
now.
think it fits, and don't get me wrong, I'm kinda, in a way, the more we get done now, the less I have to worry about doing at the end of the month or into July, and so I am kind of, if I can make it happen Thursday, I'm just gonna make it happen Thursday, because I don't wanna have to do it the next Thursday or the next Thursday, and
All right, so we'll confirm that on Monday then.
Okay,
That should work.
you know better than letting your real work interfere here, right?
I have a question. Did the board decide if they're gonna be meeting the day before Fourth of July weekend? or
Oh,
4th of
I
July?
didn't.
Oh, that's right.
I forgot to ask that.
I think we might.
So your first meeting in July is the 3rd.
Yeah.
I
So you could either push it a day out, you can move it out, or just skip that particular meeting.
Is anybody planning to not be around?
I
mean,
will not- I will
you
not be
won't.
here.
I really don't know. I'm typically not around 4th of July
I think,
weekend
I
at
think
all.
we might be able to, with the town meeting done, we might be able to
Forego a week.
forego that one. And if we have to have something in between,
We can
we'll,
always do a special meeting for us.
Yeah,
when it comes
but
to
I-
If the need,
squeeze
before I
something
had
before
the
DPW
vacation,
commission.
if the need for meeting, we could schedule it for the 10th, which is the week after.
Right, so
If
we
there
would
was
slip it
something
in
that
just like
came
this
up.
coming Monday, just
Yeah,
before the
we'll take it.
DPW commission, we could
Correct.
just do a
it
quick little.
quiets
Yep.
down
small
after
We can
the
see
town
what's on
meeting.
on the plate then.
So we could post it tentatively anyways, to, still have our regular meeting the week after and just the Monday in between do.
I
You
can
want
just,
that
we
whole
can
list
wait
Through the
until,
7th?
we
Are you
can-
out through
yeah.
the 7th? Okay.
we can wait until the next regular selectmen's meeting, we can see what carryover we have. Like what the timing of the carryover is,
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
how about that?
That works, because we're gonna have to create some new meetings anyway,
Yeah.
because that's usually when we are sitting down in executive session discussing our contract with hopefully the person we've decided by then.
Okay, so.
Unless we are lucky enough to do
At
it
our
before
next
then.
regular meeting, we'll see what carryover we'll have and
Yep,
timing on the
that's fine.
carryover. Some of it may not require any immediate time, so it may be able just to be waited.
Yeah.
We'll see.
Sounds
Okay.
good to me.
What?
Sounds good to me.
Okay. And gentlemen, I guess we're all set, aren't we?
Motion to adjourn.
Yes.
Second that.
Okay, in favor?
Aye.
The earliest you've been done in a long time.
Thank you much, everybody.